And that's what the SolaraGem, I think, is addressing. It just starts shifting this down, and all of a sudden that stuff just comes to the surface. That thing that's bubbling there, all of a sudden we're entraining you down to this more natural state of remembrance. Because, what healing is also remembering who we are.
Welcome to Harmonic Alignment, a podcast that explores the new frontier of energy medicine, bridging the gap between Western medicine and quantum physics, giving you easy and practical solutions. Guided by me, Dr. Larissa Sharipova, and me, Priscilla Koblenz. Join us on a journey discovering your harmonic alignment. On today's episode of Harmonic Alignment, we get to connect with the creator of the SolaraGem, Mike Broadwell. Mike has created one of my favorite healing tools that I use on a regular basis. The SolaraGem pods are a fantastic way to use crystals, color therapy, light therapy in a frequency device that can help the physical, mental, and spiritual. You can use this on your family members, on your pets, on plants, on your water. This is such a fun, cool modality, and it's affordable. Mike tells the story. He gives some incredible healing examples. This is a really fun episode. You're going to want to own a SolaraGem yourself. Check out solaragem.com. That's GEM.com. I am so excited today. I am here on Harmonic Alignment with Mike Broadwell, who is the creator of one of my favorite healing devices called the SolaraGem. And if you are a crystal lover, you are in for a treat. I think this is the perfect way to help understand how crystals help in healing. So Mike, thank you so much for coming on and welcome.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
I see you've got this beautiful green in the background. It looks like you're outdoors. Where are you coming in from?
I'm in Tennessee, down on the kind of the Tennessee-Alabama state line, south of Nashville, maybe 90 minutes.
Beautiful. Okay, Mike, take us on this journey of how you are using light frequencies and crystals in healing.
Yeah, it's actually an ancient technique that goes back to Ayurveda. In ancient Ayurveda, they would put people in sunlight and put different crystals over different parts of the body based on what was going on with the person, because, they know that different crystals relate to different organs. If you go in the crystal shop, you see the little rose quartz hearts, because it relates to the heart. Well, it's a literal connection there. Hang on, let me pick up the cat so he'll shut up. Come here.
Oh, you can put the cats on camera. I'm all about it.
All right, well, there's the cat.
What's the cat's name?
Husker. I've used the SolaraGems on Husker. In fact, one of the interesting stories was he had a lot of male cats get crystallized urinary tracts, and that can be life-threatening. And I, for some reason, didn't think of it at first, and I asked my naturopath. She said, I'll give him this particular thing, and it seemed to help him. But then one day he was just really moaning and groaning and curled up in a ball, and I got him and pressed on him, and I thought, okay, that's really bothering him. And so I got the Emerald SolaraGem out and ran it on him for, 30 minutes or so. And then I thought, well, I hope he's here in the morning. That morning I woke up and he's running around, and he never had the problem since. That's been several years ago.
Wow.
So it works with animals quite well. And
well, actually, I had a 20-year-old cat, and as she was getting arthritis, I have pictures of her with the SolaraGems. And it was like a little recharge for her. Like she would be not feeling well, and then after a treatment would act like, oh, I'm good to go.
It's amazing. And animals don't get in the way with their own beliefs about things. And it's fascinating because if you talk to an Ayurvedic practitioner, they'll tell you that the way to get the energy out of crystals is to put light through them, sunlight through them, or to grind them up and swallow them, which we don't really do in this day and age. But those were the two techniques. It's a very energetic practice. So it's all about feeling the energy and connecting in. But it works really well along the lines of Chinese medicine, which is similar, and just creating balance. We're really trying to remove what's keeping the body from healing itself more than trying to fix things. It's a great complementary tool. We can show people what it looks like so they have some sense of it, but it's just a little thing. I mean, it's not that big compared to my big head, I guess.
They're easy to travel with. That's one of the reasons I love them, is because they're so portable. And you can stick them in your suitcase, you can charge them up.
Yeah, and we put the lights, different colors. There's different combinations of colors and crystals. That's an aquamarine there.
Oh, beautiful.
And then there's this one is a different style. It's called the Focus. This one has lapis lazuli in it, which is a little harder to see, but it's got a round glass lens which focuses the energy a little more directly, so you can put it right up on an acupuncture point or on a vagus nerve or whatever.
Ooh, or for the throat chakra, because lapis is, I always call it the audition stone for my musicians or artist friends, because it helps with the throat chakra,
Yeah.
speaking your truth. But you can use it on the third eye, and then on you said the vagus nerve.
Yeah, I mean, you can use these all over. The problem with it is one is we're human beings, and so we like to complicate things. And, you know, but if you think in terms of the chakras, your purples, the blues, the kind of the turquoise, the greens, the yellow, orange, red, whatever, as you go down the body, down through the chakras, that's a generalized way of using these. But I can use a ruby on a lymph node, which is red, but I can put it on the lymph system to boost the lymph. So you can use them all over the body. The characteristics of them tend to be, your hotter stones, your reds, your oranges, just like your colors, right? Your red dress, red car, that's hot. We use that to stimulate, get things moving, calming, like an amethyst over the crown to calm the mind, calm the negative emotions. And then in between there, we can use all sorts of things. So
You were saying that the amethyst at the crown. I've heard and success stories of people with trouble sleeping, and they sleep with the amethyst pulsating at the crown at night.
oh yeah, before the 4th of July, I got a call, and it was a lady. She said, "I'm going through your website. I'm trying to figure out the shipping options." I said, "Well, where are you?" She goes, "Florida." She goes, "Well, I'm trying to get it here as soon as possible because my son can't sleep without his amethyst, and somehow we lost it. So I want to try to get it here because he can't sleep when it's not here." And she said, "Well, he's had it for 2 years, and they took it to show the doctor or something and managed to lose it. So she was desperate to get it as quickly as possible." So we worked out where we could get it to her on Saturday after the 4th. That was pretty cool. I mean, you think of a child that can't sleep, and what a
Yeah.
difference in their length of life, their quality of life, if you can help somebody sleep. I mean, it's remarkable. And I've had other people call me about that too. Another guy called me. He said his grandson had all kind of sleep problems. Took him to one of my practitioners. When she would run it on him, he'd go to sleep. So we're going to get one. So that really makes you feel good when you see you're making that kind of impact on people.
Well, Mike, when was the first time you realized that crystals could be a part of healing?
Well, it's interesting. I actually ran across this type of technology first. I mean, I knew about crystals and I thought they were cool, but I was never really into crystals in a big way. But I ran across an older version of this technology. It probably goes back 50, 60, 70 years, because what we're effectively doing is emulating sunlight through crystals and color. And so it makes sense as we develop electric lighting and things like that people would start creating ways to do that. And a lot of them came out of the UK because it's never sunny there. And they're big into sunlight, and they've done a lot of research. So I ran across an English company that had made a device, and it was profound. I was at a bioenergetic conference in 2011. There was just like an all-star lineup of people there. Eileen McKissick was there. She was actually working on her dissertation for biofield tuning back then. There was Claude Swanson, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but wrote several thick books on the physics of bioenergy. But Dr. Michael Kessler, Richard Fluke, I met there was just an unbelievable group of people there. So I loved what it did. So I ended up buying one, and they were having a lot of trouble just trying to get it over here and get it going. So I ended up becoming their main marketing person for several years, just because I was so impressed with how well it worked. And I had been doing summits on energy medicine. That's kind of how I got into all this. And then I happened to be at that conference. Unfortunately, when the scamdemic hit, there was some problems that kind of compounded some other things that were going on. So I created my own version and really brought the cost down and simplified it and wanted to make it more available and more robust. Because, we didn't know what was going to happen then. They were talking about logistics getting shut down. And so I thought, well, I don't want this technology to die because it's too profound. So that's kind of when I started. Been selling a little over 4 years now. You were probably one of the early people that got it.
I was going to say, I met you at BRMI in Arizona, and it's so great because you have all these different combinations, and you have a friend who helps select the crystals and the combinations that you put in. So tell me a little bit about that process of how you decide what goes in the SolaraGem pod and where the crystals are sourced from.
Yeah, that was Charles Matthew, who is a 40 plus year crystal energetics expert who actually worked with Marcel Vogel back in the day and trained with him. There's at least 3 different types of crystals in each one, and some of them have as many as 7. And Charles helped me to come up with the core supporting stones, including some specially charged stones that he's been charging for decades that are quite profound. I think he sells them for like $300 a piece, so they're pretty rare and powerful. But the combination of those helps support main stone. So the SolaraGem is named for the main stone, like the amethyst, but there's supportive stones in there that help balance the energy and actually help pull the energy from the inner core of the body. Then there's specially charged Lemurian quartz that Charles works with. These help with the clearing and the balancing of the energy. And then we have color filters in there that are based on the Denshaw color therapy system. So that's a whole system in its own right that's quite profound. When I showed this to Stephen Ross at the World Research Foundation, who's a big fan of Denshaw and a color therapist, he was really impressed with them because he said, this is really nice, because Denshaw's stuff either looked like it was built in a garage out of a wooden crate from the old days, or they were just big, big spotlights and things like that. So he was quite impressed with what we did there. And it's just the combinations of the crystals and the color and the frequency. It's remarkable, and it's kind of indescribable. It's something you have to experience.
You just made a really important point, and that is because of the combinations that you put in that SolaraGem, you don't have to necessarily go and clear them like you would if you were working with stones one-on-one. Because there's kyanite, I think, is one of the clearing stones in there.
Kyanites and all of them. And then it's the light is also clearing, because one of the ways you clear individual stones is put them in light. So since we're running them through the light all the time, they really maintain the clarity without having to be charged. It's kind of the beauty of them is they're easy and fast. And the power is way beyond just taking a crystal and putting it on you. It's like orders of magnitude. I had one lady, I took some of her crystal combinations that she had in a little thing that she would sell to these dentists and stuff to clear their space. And I put them in the SolaraGem, and I brought it back, and she tested it however she tested it and said it was like 1,000 times stronger. It was pretty
wow.
amazing.
So we even think about it not just on the healing, but actually clearing your energetic space.
Oh yeah, you can have it in the room. It will shift the energy of the room. I did one of my little workshops in Austin one time at the Casa de Luz, if you know that place in Austin, which is kind of a earthy kind of little hub that all the people like to go to, and has a lot of meeting rooms. And there was a lady doing a relationship class or something next to me, and I was talking to her. We were both setting up before our classes started, and I showed her the SolaraGem. I said, look, you want to just keep one in the room? She goes, okay, yeah. So I put a rose quartz in the room and just in the corner while she was teaching her class, and I went and did my thing. And after her class, she goes, wow, we could really tell the difference with that in the room. It shifted the energy of the room.
Oh, that makes my heart happy. I mean, I think that what a cool way just to, let's say you have a family gathering that's stressful. Let's go ahead and put some rose quartz somewhere in the room. What I think is so smart about this is you create the crystal gem pods, but then you just can use a camera light that you can buy on Amazon. And the camera light, you're changing the pulse of the light.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about with increasing frequencies and changing the frequency. Explain how that works.
One of the issues with the older systems out there, they were big and clunky, and they had special light boxes, and technology has shifted so much, and the improvement in LED, this is an LED light. Now, some people freak out, but it's not the same as having these cheap LED light bulbs in your house. Those can damage your eyes over time because of the blue lights. The frequencies are not good. But LED technology to get white light like sunlight is very recent. It took them a long time to be able to create the color blue, which was necessary to create white, because you need multiple colors to create white. What I wanted was, one, to make it affordable for people, because the other system that I worked with was about $6,000 to start with. And it had 3 gem mixtures and a clunky light stand. And if it broke, you had to send it back to England, and you could buy more gem mixtures. You want another light, it's another 5,000 or 6,000. It was really expensive, but it was effective and people still bought it. But what I was able to do by coming up with a $90 light, which we tested, and it's very clean, energetically pure. I had a biogeometry specialist test it, and they do some pretty advanced dowsing and all. It's rechargeable, so there's virtually no dirty electricity because we're not actually running it plugged into the wall. And it's also means you can put it anywhere without worried about cables. And like you said, you can carry it with you. It charges like a cell phone. So it just made it easy to use. And the beauty of it is I can use 3 or 4 of these at once, and it magnifies the benefits. Whereas with the older systems out there, you're talking, $20,000 to run 3 or 4 of these things. This is another $90 camera light and another SolaraGem, which are usually $600. You're talking a fraction of the cost of what was out there. And also made them more rugged. The other one would break if you dropped them. They were a little more fragile. So I just made it a lot more affordable. The first ones I made, I sent to my top practitioners that were using the other system. I said, look, give me honest feedback. Better, worse, same. And they all said at least as good, if not better, and way better every other way, ergonomically, ease of use. But they all gave the thumbs up to it. And these were some really, my top people that are very energy sensitive and very aware of what's in and used effectively the other system. So I knew I had to go there. And like I say, there's some uniqueness to this. The Denshaw color, I use only raw stones. Raw stones have much better energetic properties. So I source them from all over. Yes, I mean, they literally come from all over the world. And I travel all over the place, all over the U.S. mostly, but I go to so many places. I look for crystal places, and a lot of times I'll walk in a place, I might have one crystal that I could use, one little set of little crystals. Oh wow, they got this. You never expect this little store would have this little thing with a bunch of just nondescript stuff. And I go to the Tucson Gem Show, and I go, I'm constantly on the lookout for what's there. So yeah, I've gotten to know a lot more about crystals, and then having Charles to help has been really great as well.
You're using this camera light, which is just a lume cube. Depending on what crystal you're using, you recommend like 1.5 hertz or 10 hertz. So the lights not only can shine steady, but they can also pulse at a frequency. There's a healing effect with the pulse. Can you explain why you would change something from 1.5 hertz to increase that frequency pulse?
Absolutely, yeah. So the pulsing is for brainwave entrainment, or to match brainwave frequencies. If you're familiar with delta, alpha, theta, beta, all those different ones. I try to keep it simple. The light itself has about 5 or 6 different frequency settings, kind of between delta and alpha. Delta is like the sleeping frequency. It's when the body heals and repairs. And if I want to calm somebody down, I want to put the baby to sleep, I send it a lullaby, very slow, da-da-da, right? Well, I might want to boost my spleen or boost my lymph or boost something that needs energy. I would use alpha. So I would stimulate that at 10 hertz. So vagal stimulation is done at 10 hertz. If you get the little TENS units and things like that, they all use 10 hertz. And the SolaraGem is tremendous for vagal stimulation. Again, we make things complicated because they're new and because we kind of live in a world where we're just too much information and everybody's trying to keep it all in here and keep it all straight. And it's better if we could just step back and take a breath. The difficulty with something like SolaraGem, and this is the biggest challenge that I've had for years working with the older system, working with this, is not that it works or not. It's profound what it does. It's actually that people don't really know what they want. It took me a long time to really see this, but I realized most people don't want to be healed. They want something fixed.
Wow. Okay, wait. You just said something really profound. Most people don't want to be healed. They want something fixed. Please elaborate on that.
Well, if you look at how most of us live in the world, it's like we're running the Indy 500, right? We're running in circles, and then something starts hurting or my knee doesn't work and I want to get a pit stop, get it fixed. I got to get back on the track. And life's pretty crazy right now, right? We're all scrambling to make a living. And, so I get it. I'm not making fun of people. I mean, we're all kind of in this crazy rat race, but that's not living. And if you ask people where they're going, I'm going with everybody else. We're going in circles. And so I realized, because people would come and I would demonstrate this to them, and mostly I do that at different conferences and events, and their pain would go away. Like, oh, my knee hurts, and go away. And they look at me like something's missing. And I'm like, I'm not really sure what you want. And I think most people, if you think about it, they come into the clinic and you just get to work on them. I don't even know if the practitioners even think about it a lot of times, because they're just there to do their thing, because we're all busy and we got a busy schedule. Okay, Susie's here. Let me work on Susie's knee. But wait a minute, what are we really here for, and what are we trying to do? And if you think about it, how many of us grew up going to doctors? You got a problem, doctor gives you a pill, right? And you take the pill. Some people take pills for 30 years and it makes no difference. Maybe it's doing something, maybe it's not, but they still take it.
Right.
Like they don't even associate an outcome with the treatment a lot of times. And a lot of times just the belief shifts it. But with the SolaraGem, they will shift every time. It may just be that they feel relaxed. The more energetically aware, the more connected they are, the more they can feel it. The really energetic people can tell me where the energy is moving and how it's doing this and that. And you can see it if you look in their eyes. If we do a measurement like a heart rate variability with a heart quest or something like that, I can see the shifts dramatically. So much that Dr. Kessler, who created the heart quest, actually has SolaraGems in the recommended treatments. I mean, he's been using it for years and he knows that it works, and we can see it measurably. But still, it's like people are not connected to themselves.
Right. And I think you bring up such a really good point. So let's say you have a knee pain. You start to immediately think of it as, oh, well, I hit my knee, or it's arthritis, or it's overuse. And you don't get to the meaning behind it. There's a chance for an upgrade in understanding. Are you having trouble moving forward in life? There's an emotional connection, a spiritual connection with, it didn't just start. It started in the field first before it became in the physical. I love what you said. We want to heal, right? Or do we? We just want to get fixed.
Well, healing is not fixing. My whole motto, which took me years to come up with, and it's not just a motto, it's not just a clever saying. Healing is not fixing, okay? Healing is more you.
Healing is more you.
Yes. If you have children, you have a partner, a spouse, or loved ones, sisters, brothers, friends, whatever. When you see something new, like maybe your niece comes up with, I went to art class and she has a real affinity for it. She never knew. And she made a painting that really is cool. And she's lit up, and you're like, this is so cool. There's more. The whole new side of you has come alive because you discovered this affinity for art and you got little instructions. And now you have a direction and you can start taking advantage of it. This is healing. This is more you, more of you, more you want a better relationship. Your spouse reads a great book or hears a new song that lights them up, and all of a sudden there's a pep in their step that they wasn't there yesterday. And it's like, oh, don't you feel better? Like there's more going on here. If we look at what Jesus said, what did he say? I came that they may have life and life more abundant, because life is about abundance. And that means more you. Who are you? More you is more awareness. The more aware I am, the more present I am. If we treated our relationships the way we treat ourselves as healing, we would all be single and divorced, right? Well, maybe I could give her candy or flowers and she'll let me watch the football game. If that's the way you address your beloved, that's not going to last real long.
Right.
And the ladies are better at this than men, right? The guys all know that. You're not listening. You're not listening. Like, we can word for word repeat back to you what you just said. But it's, that we're not present. We're not connected. We're somewhere else thinking about work or the football or the golf, and we're listening, but we're not listening. That's the difference. And we can give you flowers and candy and all that, and that's okay. But if we're not connecting and we're not present, and y'all know it, women have this broader range of awareness in general than men. and you just feel it and you know it. It's like at some point, you can't make up for it with stuff and with gifts and things like that, right? That's what healing's about, is to get that kind of connection with ourselves, that we can be more aware that, oh, that shifted or something's different, or the world looks a little different today.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mike. I think that's one of the messages that I'm trying to get people to understand. And I have clients that come in and they know more about their animals' health than they do their own health. Like they'll know, oh, they didn't eat well last night, and then their bowel movements are off, but they can tell me that about themselves. They don't pay attention. They can know that for the animal that they care and love, but they don't give that same love, care, and attention to their own body. And I think in a sense, they limit their capacity to how they show up in the world because of that. Because if the more you love and feed and nurture this whole being that you are, the brighter you show up in the world as the fullest representation of who you are. And now you make the world a better place by being this incredible presence in the world. Like, please show up as the best version of Mike and the best version of Priscilla.
I mean, you and I know some of the best people in the world in the healing profession through groups like BRMI, which is almost like a gateway to heaven almost of healers. I mean, there's such beautiful people in that group. But yet, if we show up at a BRMI event or something and we're like totally worried about something and we're not present, we just might as well not even be there.
Right.
What have we missed in life by not picking up on the subtleties? And even with our beloved, right? I mean, we all have that, she's got this little sound she makes when she pouts or whatever. It's almost like these little ticks and things that nobody in the world would notice except you, but you miss it when it's not there. And these are, again, the things that add color and depth and beauty to life. And if we're here worried about everything and then, running around like we're trying to control everything, we just miss it all. So what are we even doing here? I met a lady the other day. I was at a conference of these applied kinesiology doctors, and this older lady whose husband was retired, but they still kind of ran a little bit of a practice. And she's like, I put her on the SolaraGem, and we goes, oh boy, that stuff, I didn't want that stuff coming up.
She was avoiding it. She didn't want it to come up yet.
Right. She knew deep down she needed to deal with it, but she wasn't like, oh, I didn't want that. She goes, oh, I'm not going to do this in my practice. This takes too long. I don't want to deal with people's problems to this degree.
I don't want to heal them that well. It's too much stuff. Back to more of the practical on the Solara, because as an individual, you can do this at home and you can work on really getting to all the layers of healing. But as a practitioner, you can add this to any treatment that you are doing, whether you are doing massage, acupuncture, bioenergetics. Having this on, when I do my sound healings and I put someone on the table and I sing and I play the bowls and I have the SolaraGems, they've had almost out-of-body experiences. It just amplifies what you are doing when you're working with someone on their healing journey.
It's profound. You can do things like the triple crown, which is the crown, amethyst, rose quartz on the heart, and then carnelian or something on the vagus. And you can use different combinations, but that is like opening the heart, calming the mind, and stimulating the vagus. I brought people out of panic attacks with that. I had a lady one night, I showed up at her place. She has a villa way up in the mountains in Orange County, and I flew in and got in at 10 o'clock, and I was supposed to call this girl that was supposed to be there to greet me, and the girl didn't answer the phone. So I'm like, I hope I'm in the right place. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Well, another girl comes to the door. She's lovely, and she's like, oh, I have something to eat. And then Virginia, the lady that ran the place, Virginia Dixon, came down and said, sorry, I can't sit and talk to you, but I can't leave this girl alone. She's got all, what do I do with this? I said, put the amethyst on her head, the rose quartz on her heart. Next day, I'm in the kitchen, and this girl comes down. I didn't know who she was. I hadn't seen her. And we're just talking. How'd you sleep? Oh, I slept great. And I found out later from Virginia that she said she was so unsettled, and she'd gone through so much trauma that Virginia had helped her work through, to the point that she was actually working for Virginia. But she almost had like a relapse where it just came back all of a sudden. And Virginia's like, she would not settle down, to the point that I was ready to take her to the emergency room, which is the last place on earth I want to take anybody. But I couldn't get her to settle down. She goes, when I put these on her, she went out like that and she slept like 10 hours straight. I had no idea anything had happened because when I was talking to her, just like regular conversation you'd have with somebody you just met. I don't even see a lot of this because, again, I don't get to work in a clinic where I have repeated clients typically.
Yeah.
But the things that I see with it, and when you relax somebody to that degree, the massage is going to be better for them, better for you. The pain is going to drop. And when you combine it with sound, I mean, because we're layering. In the mind, they can't fight it all off. And that's even becoming a more understanding. This is trying to keep things under control. And when you give it too many things, you know, that's what the learning strategies people do with their paraliminals. They talk two different things. You can't block them both out, you know. So when you start combining these modalities, the body can't fight it so much, or the body's not fighting it. It's the mind that's fighting it, trying to keep you surviving based on your patterns, because what it knows is patterns, and it's overriding the body's natural instinct to heal and to come back to balance. So we get this out of the way, the body's like, thank you. It's like a backseat driver that won't shut up, and she finally shuts up and you can enjoy the ride.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the most dangerous 4 inches on the planet is in between our ears. The mind is so powerful. Like, something is always happening, matter's being changed. But I do think humans have the capacity through whatever it is, the trauma that we really don't want to heal, or that we have a block up, that we can't prevent that. Whereas in animals and children, when we use these, it happens, they heal.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that we can contemplate and reflect on things, that we can build all these belief structures around things that happen, whereas animals or young children that don't have all these patterns built up, we need this as a protective thing, but it's totally reactive and it's not conscious. And when we get it to calm down, then the body knows what to do. And
Right.
The more you as a practitioner, or you as yourself working on yourself, start to notice the subtleties of the shifts and things, that's when you're really becoming a healer. And one thing I really want to do, and I want to find somebody to help me do this because I'm not the best for it, is create a course for practitioners on how to be a practitioner before you learn how to do anything.
Just the basics on how to be a healer, how to hold space, how to...
Yeah.
It's so needed. Yeah.
Because what are people doing? They're learning Reiki and they're so worried about doing the Reiki right, they're not even paying attention to the client. You know, learn to really connect to the client, pay attention, and then use something like SolaraGem, which does all the work. And then when you got that down, then learn the Reiki, but do it in the flow of still paying attention. And all of a sudden you're going to be 10 times, 100 times the practitioner.
Right. Right. Well, Mike, I'm so excited. I have the amethyst, the carnelian, and the emerald. How many different gemstone combinations do you have? I know you have some really cool ones, even Herkimer diamonds, I think.
Those are in the carnelian. There's Herkimer diamonds. There's actually about 50 or 60 different types. However, I only have, I think, 20 on the website because it just gets overwhelming. And usually I start people on the core ones that you have. You must start out and really get to connect with it. And then there's a few people that just want like the palette. You can muscle test, you can get in there and you can fine tune and you can look at what the characteristics of these gems. But even then, I tell people, they say, well, you have a book of what they all do. It's like, well, there's a million crystal books out there and they're all generally in agreement and they have a lot of information. Use it as a starting point and then pay attention. And then you use it and you will start to just pick up and you'll get your own intuitive sense about, oh, well, let's do this and let's do that. What if I did this here? And so the difference is this is moving healing to a whole different level of engagement where the client actually needs to engage in healing, not in being fixed, if they're going to have the best outcome. Now, even if they don't, it's still going to impact them. But you're not going to be able to explain it to them because it's a conscious experience. Everybody's is different. But it works, and you just have to see it. You were at the meeting with the BRMI when you remember the one guy that was almost emotionally twisted in his eyes, and that guy got up, and people almost gasped in the room. Were you there when that happened?
He looks so different.
Yeah. He looked like he could almost strangle somebody, you know, before that. And he looked like completely calmed and relaxed after. I mean, people were actually like, oh.
It's a noticeable difference in some people and even in their face.
after
Oh,
using
yeah.
them.
Their eyes, their whole demeanor, you see them shift down into it doesn't take a lot of time if you're a practitioner. You don't have to sit in there and hold needles on them and do all this stuff. You just set it up, go on, do your own thing, come back.
Yeah.
You just want to pay attention to them before and after. It's not about you having to do a lot. It's actually pretty easy as far as implementing. But if you're not paying attention and you're not doing it on yourself, you're going to walk right past what this is doing. Because most people just, oh, it's red light. Okay, I'll put red light on you for 20 minutes. Okay, I'll put you on the PMF. And those are beneficial. Those are great techniques, but you don't have to really pay attention to them. And it's like, oh, it helped. Okay, good. Okay. But this is like, oh, look at her. Her eyes are different. Her softness in her voice. I had a woman years ago. Her mother was like a Seinfeld character, just going on about her husband, about what a jerk he was. And we put her on. And she came back in the room. And the woman was still going on about her husband, but there was a self-awareness and a lightness. And she was almost like a comedian because she knew she was just bitching and moaning. And her daughter, her grown daughter, who was a rep for a company there, was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen her like this. It was remarkable how much she came into a degree of self-awareness. She was still doing it, but it was funny, and she had a twinkle in her eye, and she kind of knew she was doing it versus before she was just ranting. There's all kind of things you pick up on as you become more acutely aware of them.
I was going to say, Mike, I want to share that Jillian, of course, who's a friend and helps distribute SolaraGem, she came and did a 2-day workshop at my farm, and I think it's called the assemblage points. And what was so interesting is that he was sitting 6 feet away. So she had the carnelian and the emerald, and they were about 6 feet away from the person. The lights are on, and we were all in a room. We had the curtains closed. We could see the lights, and you could see things happening around. In fact, one person started seeing auras for the first time. We actually feel like this combination of light with frequency, the colors and the crystals are helping activate our clairs. The unseen is becoming more seen. Maybe it's even working on raising our own consciousness level.
Definitely, that's an incredible process that shamans have used manually with crystal wands and all. And I've probably done I don't know how many of those sessions with people, and it's remarkable, the shifts that happen. We tend to mystify things, kind of like with religion, we mystify stuff with like churchy language. And then same with energy, we mystify it with quantum this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, people really know what they're talking about. So I like to bring it down very simply. And if you think of subtle energy, there's a couple ways to look at it. One is, you think of the dentist office, right? You don't already know the dentist. You just go to the dentist, they're going to maybe work on your cavity or, well, you think there's a dentist, there's a couple of hygienists, there's a secretary, maybe there's some other person there. And it's like, okay, there's a dentist, he does this to me. And, okay. The subtle energy would be what's really going on interactively. What if the dentist is having an affair with one of the hygienists and the other one's jealous and the secretary wants to quit because she can't stand the hypocrisy, and there's an energy, there's a heaviness to this. But you don't know any of that stuff, but that impacts everything about your experience there. That's the subtle energy. That is what's driving almost everything. The whole experience you have at the dentist is impacted by that subtle energy of what's going on. Same with the family. There's a family problem. We don't want anybody to know. We put on a smile at church or whatever. But you go in the house and maybe you pick up, maybe it just feels a little off. But this is subtle energy, and this is impacting our lives. And that's what the SolaraGem, I think, is addressing, is it just starts shifting this down, and all of a sudden that stuff just comes to the surface, that thing that's bubbling there. All of a sudden we're entraining you down to this more natural state of remembrance, because what healing is also remembering who we are. A child just goes out and plays. He doesn't worry about anything. He just has fun and plays, and that's kind of our natural state. But we have to learn all this other stuff and all this complexity. But our real goal in life is to come back to be like that child after being able to be self-directed. Like a child needs a parent to keep it safe and all that, but we need to become self-guided, self-directing, but yet have the freedom of a child just to be who we are. And it's that remembrance. It's not necessarily memories. It's that coming back to that base alignment or that base configuration. And I think because the stones are so ancient and so grounding that they just help entrain us back to that more natural earthiness. Stuff that doesn't fit tends to stick out, like the hair that's out of place or whatever. And it's just like, and then becomes to your awareness. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, why did that memory come up? So I had one lady said, this memory came up of like 10 years ago when I was a school teacher and this kid tried to kill me in the classroom, but I'm over that. And I said, well, obviously you're not over it. It was still coming up.
Yeah.
But who knows why it came up? It was still there, and energy was being expended to hold it down, just like you're trying to keep the family secret,
Right.
Don't tell anybody that. And that's what we're doing, is holding on to all sorts of things like that. We're all doing it. We're lying to ourselves, but we do it in order to survival, to look pretty, get our, advance at work or whatever. Ultimately, our energy body is just starting to get contorted and twisted, and when we let go and let it relax, the stuff can start to move out, and that's healing. That's coming back to you, and then the pain is going to go away.
Right. Well, Mike, you just hit on my favorite thing to try to help people understand. The unseen has a bigger role than anything that's happening. And you just talked about that subtle energy. And we all know exactly when you describe the scenarios that are going on behind the scenes, everyone deals with it differently. Some of us don't deal with it at all, but it's still affecting us. And so SolaraGems can help with the unseen, the subtle energy. Mike, where can people find your work, and where can they follow you for what you're doing?
The best place is the website, solaragem.com, solaragem.com. I have a lot of videos. My phone number's on there. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I do a lot of conferences around the country. So the best thing to do is get on the email list there, and I let you know when I'm going to do, like the thing you did with Jill. The immersion weekends are just fabulous. And if I get enough people, I will put those on in different parts of the country, and then Jill can also do those. And those are really available. Even anybody that really connects with SolaraGem likes to do it. They could even put on these weekends. They're not that difficult to do. Once you really kind of start using it, it's profound, and it's like having a mini retreat. I mean, you could roll it into a retreat and it'd be perfect.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I think people on retreats should have these and spend some time using them on the body. And my favorite way to use the SolaraGems is meditation. I feel like I peel back the layers. In fact, I'm due for a good meditation with my SolaraGems. I'm a big fan of Dr. Robert Sardello, who I've recently got to meet with in person. And he wrote a book on the consciousness of crystals, and just sitting in silence with them and asking them questions. And I'm like, oh, I got to do this with the SolaraGem and see what comes up. Mike, we always try to ask our guests, if you had a microphone and you could talk to every soul on the planet, you've given us some great wisdom already. Is there anything else you would love that every soul would know?
Really think about why we're here and who you are and how do we get back to that. And that's really the quest, because the more each of us can become who we are, the better it opens up the space for everybody else to become who they are. And it's not hard. Self-honesty is the biggest thing. Even if it's, an unimaginable, like in our society, like taxation is theft, right? I mean, people might argue, but it's basically they come and get you if you don't pay them. Well, we're not going to change that probably, but we can at least own it. Like, well, that's a contradiction, and just being open rather than trying to make it all fit. Well, okay, well, I have a reason. All that makes sense. You don't have to, because it's not about you. As far as people say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. It's like, no, that's not right. We're not the basis of our lives in that sense. We are here to learn how to live according to the way life works. And it's really about finding the method behind that, not having to be looking good. We don't want something that we have to look good and hide things. We want to find what's the method to getting to who I really am and to what's real. And so that's what I would say, is really pursue that, seek understanding about that. And I do a lot of that with SolaraGem and a thing called the law of implication, which you can look up on YouTube. It's not really about you. It's about just having the right method, just like a baseball player. The outcome's going to be how well I throw the pitches. Not a bad person if somebody hits a home run. It's just maybe I didn't follow the method or life happens, And so shifting to the method, really the method for knowing what's true and how to live versus it's all about me and how I look and how people think I am.
I love that. Well, Mike, what a treat. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on Harmonic Alignment and sharing the SolaraGem. We will put all the links in the show notes so people can get one themselves and start hanging out with it. You have so many amazing things that these are capable of. And it's not just the physical pain, but the mental, the emotional, spiritual, the subtle energy. This is the technology of the future. And wellness isn't just about that pain, like you said. It's not because my knee hurts. It's not about the fixing. It's getting to the real healing.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. We'll see you soon.
Are you ready for your Energy for Life bioenergetic nest scan? Dr. Larissa Sharapova and myself, Priscilla Koblenz, offer personal, private, 90-minute consults to get you back to optimal health and well-being. For more details, visit the show notes or check out harmonicalignment.co. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Harmonic Alignment. If something resonated with you, we would love to hear about it. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review and subscribing so you don't miss an upcoming episode. Thank you. The information contained in this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and directions. The products and information received through the podcast should not be used to replace a consultation or advice from your healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or have any healthcare questions, please promptly call your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Dr. Larissa Sharapova and Priscilla Koblenz and the producers, are not responsible for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained in this podcast. This podcast may contain endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct financial benefit to the product or services referenced.